Greetings YouTube, Big Terry here with Golden Oaks Worm Company. Starting today, we're going to be embarking on a new venture, and that will be worm farming for composting and for bait fishing. So it's a new venture that we're starting, and as you can see in front of you, what we've purchased is a Vermatech worm farm. It'll be a starter kit. But we're not going to be using this today. Today, we are going to be setting up a Nightcrawler bin that I'll be using going forward. This Vermatech worm farm will be specifically for red wiggler worms, which I'm expecting to arrive in the next few days. So they'll be going in this. But today, we're going to be starting with our Nightcrawler farm, Canadian Nightcrawlers. Got my first batch at the local gas station here. So we're going to see if we can successfully breed these Nightcrawlers and start our farm. So please follow us, continue to follow us on this journey. And if you like the content you see here today, don't forget to hit that like button and also subscribe for future updates. So without further ado, let's take a look at our first set of worms, our Canadian Nightcrawlers. So here we have our new batch of Canadian Nightcrawlers. It says it's the worm. I picked these up again from a local gas station. It says product of Canada, and it says not just 12 count of worms. This actually cost me about $6.50, so hopefully it's more than 12 in here. But we're gonna take a quick look at this. I'm gonna open it up to make sure that I didn't buy a cup of dead worms. And then we're gonna put them in the refrigerator to stay cool overnight. And we're going to be setting up their forever home tomorrow, which is a brand new worm bed I'm starting. But let's take a look at this and make sure they're okay inside here. Oh, wow, look at that. They are pretty juicy. They're pretty big worms there. So it looks like for the most part, they're okay. We're getting some movement there, some slight movement. So we're gonna cover this back up for tonight. And in the morning, we are going to start setting up their worm bin. So stay tuned. Okay, and we are back, and today is next day is Wednesday, the 27th of May, 2026, and what we have here in front of us is a few starting supplies that I'm going to be using to create my Nightcrawler's bedding. We have some sphagnum peat moss, some earthworm castings so I can start developing the microbiome that they need in their bedding to keep them alive and fed. We also have some cow manure and compost and some organic garden lime, which I'll be using to balance the pH in the soil so that it doesn't become too acidic for them. So we're going to start mixing these together in our bedding. I'm also going to use some cardboard and paper shreddings to form the base of the bedding. So it hopefully bulk it up some in addition to all the supplies that you see here in front of you. Now for our housing, I'm using 2 of these 18-gallon totes, which I picked up from Walmart for pretty cheap. I think they were about $5 each. And on the bottom of one, I've drilled several holes for drainage. So that any extra moisture is going to get drained out the bottom. And this is why I got 2, because what we're going to do is set one down, one of the totes down, and then the second tote will go inside of it. And but before we do that, I've got a couple of masonry stones from my yard to give a little bit of height. give a little bit of height to the bottom here. So I'm going to just set these stones down on the bottom. Just like that. And then we're going to set the tote with the hole in the top so that there's a little bit of air gap between so that any excess moisture will drain out. So now let's start putting together the bedding. So we're going to start with some paper shreds that I have here. And we're just going to get a nice layer across the bottom. And this is broken down by the worms over time. So it'll become worm castings. All right. And now we're going to go in with some of our peat moss. Nice layer going in there with that. I'm going to save some of this for my red wigglers when they arrive. After that, we're going to use a little bit of the garden compost, the manure mix. Just get a cup. Gonna get some of this garden compost and manure mix in here. Start developing the biome for the worms. I think that should be enough of that. And we're going to use a little bit of the earthworm castings as well. Let's start getting that introduced in there. All right, now we're going to mix this up a bit, and then we're going to add some water to moisten this down, because earthworms like a moist environment. You don't want it too moist to where it's like sopping wet, but you don't want it too dry either. I want like a healthy balance. It should feel kind of like a wet sponge when you squeeze it, to where like only a few drops come out. That's about the right moisture that you want. So let's get some water in here. Now, I'm using rainwater because I don't want to use water from the tap because, you know, water sometimes is chlorinated, and we don't want that really in our worm bin. So I'm using some rainwater that we collected overnight. Luckily, it was storming last night when I came home, so I was able to collect a good amount. So we're going to add some now. We're going to mix this up a little bit, make sure we're not overwatering. Like I said, we definitely don't want any dry spots, but we don't want it sopping wet either. And the peat moss is going to absorb a lot of this. Yeah, definitely want more water than that. Mix that up in there. In the corners there, a lot of the peat moss. That tends to be where it wants to be the driest. And we're getting there slowly but surely. Let's add a little bit more. And then if you feel like you have overwatered, you can always add more bedding to dry it out a little bit. Like I said, you want it to be kind of like a wet sponge consistency when you squeeze it. So that's what we're going for here. Squeeze it. You see just a few drops might come out the bottom. That's exactly where we want it. So we're just going to level this off a bit. Just like that. And now what we want to add is a little bit of the garden lime. So like I said, to help, like I said, make sure we bring down the acidity if there's any in the bin. So let's sprinkle some generously on here. I'm gonna mix that in as well. A little bit more in there. Oh, a bit too much. All right. And then I'll get this mixed in again. And this will be our starting bedding for our earthworms. Now, I'm going to repeat this process one more time just to get the bedding a little bit deeper. I'm not going to bore you guys with that. I'll just come back once we've done it a second time. All right, so now we have a second layer that we've mixed in and wet down so that we make sure we keep that moist environment. And now what we're going to do is we're going to put in some food for our worms to start eating so that they can start hopefully breeding and developing and multiplying. So what I have here is some frozen strawberry tops, which I think they'll enjoy. And then a couple of banana peels. Now this may be a bit much food for them to start off with, but I'm gonna go ahead and put it in there because I don't want it to spoil too much, and we're probably not gonna have to feed them again for a while anyway. And I want to let them to have some time to get settled in their new environment. Who knows what kind of trauma they've been through already. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna make a small trench for the food right here in the middle. And I'm going to put a little bit of dry bedding in here just to sop up any extra moisture that the fruit might add to this. Just a little bit. All right. Then we're going to put our frozen strawberries down in here. And we're going to put our banana peels right on top. And then we're just going to bury this underneath the wet bedding. And we're gonna just leave that in there for the worms to start doing their thing. One last thing that I forgot to mention, we need a little bit of grit for the worms to start breaking this down, because worms don't actually have teeth, so they need a little bit of grit in order to break down foodstuffs. So what I have here is a little bit of azomite, which I believe is crushed eggshells infused with like minerals and stuff. So I'm gonna just put a little bit of this on the very top. Get it open, there we go. It should be good. And lastly, we are going to add our earthworms and give them some time to get settled. I keep hitting my head on a chandelier. All right, so let's get our earthworms in here, and we're gonna set them right on the top and let them get settled in. Oh man, that's a beautiful sight. So let's see if we can count how many we got here. I don't think there's that many, to tell you the truth. So looks like we got one. We got one here on the bottom, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That might be a dead one. 7, 8. I believe we got 9. Oh no, he's alive. Okay, so we got 8 or 9 in here. So let's let them get settled in. I'm gonna put some light on them so to help encourage them to go ahead and start getting down into the soil. It looks like they're going to work. It's not taking them too long. So this is just our first batch. We're probably going to get more as the time goes on, but definitely want to start breeding them to hopefully get a good enough supply to do some reselling. That's the goal. We want to have a local worm reselling in the area. So we're going to let them do their thing and get down into the soil on their own. And we're going to check it back in about a week's time to see how they're doing, if they're getting acclimated to their new environment. So we'll stay tuned. And like I said, if you like this content and want to follow us, please hit that like button and be sure to subscribe. And we'll see you back soon. This is Big Terry with Golden Oaks Worm Company. See you later.